over the last hundreds of years to give us this privilege. And Lord, if you would help us not take it for granted. If you would be with us tonight as we look at a very serious issue in our community and the whole Kanawha Valley. If you would give us wisdom, help us to come at this in a way that is sensible and wise, and yet seeks a solution. So we pray for that wisdom. Be with each of the speakers tonight, be with the citizens, and we just ask your blessing on this meeting. In your Son's name we pray. Amen.
I'll ask the Boy Scouts or the Cub Scouts to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Cub Scouts requested to be in attendance as part of one of their merit badges, and we put them in a position where they can observe the crowd, observe the speakers to get a general feel of how a public forum goes. So I hope they have a good time, and we'll be moving forward. I'd like to introduce, starting over on the far right-hand side, we have Brett Hall, who's a magistrate, and Richard Lindsay, our senator, and we have Senator Jeffries from Putnam County, who's always roped into doing things like this. He's very active. Delegate Nelson, Delegate Scaff, and Delegate Byrd. Also, we have Judge Hayes, our prosecutor, Jennifer Carr. Hopefully you all don't know her very well, or the judge. Our city clerk, Connie Faulkner, Councilman Greg Hudson from the First Ward, or Second Ward, Mike Scipio from the First Ward, Steve Arnott from the First Ward, Linda Balgus from the Fourth Ward, Connie Thompson from the Third Ward, Greg Wolf from the Third Ward, Chief Moss, Doug Fleshman from the Second Ward, and Jim Hughes from the Fourth Ward. What we're trying to do tonight is open up a dialogue between the public, the city, and our delegates at the State House to try to bring about some solutions to the problems we have with loitering, vagrancy, and people breaking into abandoned, condemned structures. In order to make this meeting be productive, I would request that whoever wants to speak would speak relative to the questions at hand and address it to the issues, and limit your question to, and don't get into side conversations and try to overtalk someone who's speaking and the answers that are being given. Hopefully we can move through this in a rapid manner and give everybody a chance to speak. And if the delegates and the senators have time at the end, maybe you can have some one-on-one or group conversations with them relative to something personal you want to talk to them. So we're going to begin. Prosecutor Carr, and I'm going to have her talk about some of the city codes, explain up front the city code relative to loitering, vagrancy, and trespass. And okay. So as a prosecutor, she will go through the code and explain what she can and cannot do relative to the code, the way it's structured. And at that point, you might understand some of the limitations that communities all across West Virginia are facing on these items. And the judge is also here that can address some of the topics relative to his decisions on the prosecutions, and then hopefully Magistrate Hall will have something to add at some point, because in a lot of cases he deals with cases beyond the level that the city can, based on what the state code does to limit the authority of the city. So with that, I'll let Jennifer with the kind of rundown on those three topics.
Okay, I'm going to try this microphone. I'll just stand up. So I'm Jennifer Carr. I'm the city prosecutor for Dunbar. And the current law on in our city code, our current law in the city code generally matches up with the state code. And the reason that cities tend to mirror state codes instead of creating a lot of their own law is because in the state law it says that cities can pass laws as long as they're not contrary to current law, meaning current state code, and also the Constitution. So, and sometimes, so if you go to regulate, say, trespassing, you can't really do something different from the code because that would be considered contrary to the code. In our city here, the only codes that we have, laws on loitering, have to do with loitering on school property, or sex offenders who are still under a supervised release, where after they've already done their prison time, they get out and they still have to report to a probation officer. Those sex offenders on a supervised release are not allowed to go in certain areas. And the reason that's in our city code is it's almost identical to what's in the state code. As for vagrancy, we don't really have anything on vagrancy, and I'd say the reason is because many years ago, those laws have been struck down by the United States, by our state Supreme Court, because typically vagrancy laws were too broad. They were not defined sufficiently for someone to know if they're hanging out on the street corner, is this going to be considered vagrancy, even if they're not doing anything else wrong. And the courts have said you cannot restrict someone's personal liberty, you know, if they're not doing something else wrong with some broad law. So that's why we don't really have any vagrancy laws here, and why they're very difficult to have. The third type of law that we do have, which are here, is the state code, and that's on trespassing. And I'm going to call it trespassing, but I will tell you there's in the code two different types of trespassing. There's trespassing in a home, building, any type of structure that has a roof, and even automobiles, railroad cars. Okay, that's going to be one type of trespassing. The other type of trespassing would be, say, a yard, something where it's not a structure, but they're trespassing on property, on land. In the law, which it's the same in the state code and in the city code, if a person trespasses, meaning they go in without the right to a structure or automobile, they commit the crime of trespassing, and the penalty is only a fine. And that would be a fine of up to $100. Okay, so it's not jailable. Nobody can go to jail for that crime. And I will tell you, though, that if they would enter a building, a structure, a home with intent to commit a crime, that would be a felony. So that takes it out of the city code, and that's going to send you to the state code and to court in Charleston. So there's a difference. And what that difference is, of course, is that the prosecutor, the police officer have to prove that a person's intent in going in that building or going in your home is to commit a crime inside it. And sometimes it's hard to prove the intent of someone. Usually if they're breaking into your home, they're gathering up your items, so it's easy to show they had intent to steal. But if they're going inside to sleep, that's going to be called trespass, and that's only a fine. The other type of trespass we were talking about is the trespass on land, trespass on property, not in a structure. That one is also typically just a fine, and the fine gets enhanced from $100 could be up to $1,500 from first, second, third offense. However, there is a possibility of jail if the person is personally told to leave and refuses to leave. So if they are told by the owner or the tenant or the agent of the owner that they must leave this land and they refuse, then that would be the type of trespassing where they could go to jail here in the city. So in addition to a fine up to $500, they could be jailed up to 30 days. And the up to 30 days for any crime in the city is a limit set in the code, with the exception of DUI. So any crime in the city, if it's jailable, the maximum amount of jail time is going to be 30 days. And then I think that pretty much is the difference between trespass and to take it out of a trespass into a felony. You've just got to show intent to commit a crime when they go into that structure. I believe that's all I have for you. Thank you.
Could I ask a question? About the trespassing and property? Wait a minute.
The microphone to you is, the answer.
I work with children, I can yell loud enough. Okay, I question about the trespassing. First off, wow, what a turnout. That's great, folks. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to see so many people here. Booyah. Good job. Show that you're ready to fire up. Okay, I got 1 minute. Trespassing, I'll stay on the subject as you said. Trespassing. So if a person comes on my property and I have trespassing signs that indicate that they're not supposed to be on my property, if the police are informed that I have trespassing signs, it doesn't make any difference still, or do they have to be run off of my property several times? Because the police are being notified, aren't they? Am I not supposed to be taken care of in some of that aspect?
When it comes to having posted property, in the code, it talks about how you have to post property, and if you have signs up, how it should be on every corner of the property. However, if you have a fence, then you don't really have to have a no trespassing sign. But as far as so it would be, and in the code, I think it says if someone trespasses, it would be the crime of trespass onto your land, with the exception of if they're going in to ask permission. So I take it someone coming into your yard to knock on your door would be okay and not exactly trespass, even if you have the signs up. So that sounds like it would be the type of offense that would be a fine. If they had that personal communication, you got a sign up on the front that says no trespassing, then most likely that's the trespassing that could incur a fine.
So I address directly. Need it again. So I address directly to, I don't know what else, one of these people that trespasses on my property and say, I've seen you here before, I don't want you here, and I call the police, and all they're, according to what you're telling me, can do is say, here, and move them off the property.
No.
Where are my rights to protect myself if this person has threatened me before?
If a person comes on your property and you verbally tell them to leave and they do not, if we're talking land, then that would be the type of trespass that could incur jail time potentially. If you tell them to leave and they do not at that moment.
Someone else? Oh.
You said, if they come into your home, that's trespassing. Where does breaking and entering come in?
The breaking and entering or burglary of your home occurs when they trespass with intent to commit a crime inside. That's what makes it the felony versus a trespass.
But if they break my door in or equip it and get into my house, isn't that breaking and entering?
Well, I mean, that's destruction of property, that's trespass, but the intent that has to be proven, and usually is to commit a crime inside, and that makes it a felony. So usually they're coming in to steal something, to beat someone up, that makes it the felony instead of a mere trespass. That makes it the burglary or the B&E, breaking and entering.
Yep, they go come in and tell you, hey, I'm here to beat the crap out of you, are they?
But I think more,
They're not gonna come in and say, I'm here to beat the crap out of you, are they?
right, but the state has to prove intent, that they had the intent when they entered to prove that felony. And usually it can be done. So it's rare that somebody breaks into your home and there's no intent to commit a crime inside.
Well, they
So
committed
what
it-
we're
they
normally
committed
talking
the
about
crime
would
by
be a
breaking and
vacant
entering.
place. Excuse me?
Didn't they commit the crime by breaking and entering?
Not exactly. To be that felony, in addition to that, they have to have intent to commit a crime inside. And I'm telling you, in most cases they do. So what we're talking about with trespassing of your home is if their intent is to say sleep.
If someone is impaired, intent should not be my responsibility. If they come on my property or to my home and they are clearly under some influence, I'm not going to take the time to see what their intent is. As far as I'm concerned, their intent should be to get off my property and leave us alone. Why should we be responsible for the other person's intent?
So is the intent, you said they have to have intent. If they break my door down, is that not destruction of property? Does that not show intent?
That it could show intent, if their intent is because the threshold of your home is part of the
Right.
inside, so that could be. If their intent is to break the door and enter, any type of crime, destruction of property crime would count to make it the felony.
To make it a felony or make it arrestable, go from trespassing, which is a fine, to an actual illegal act?
I would say you're close to the illegal felony act that gets you prison time. But it just depends on, the prosecutor has to look at a lot of facts and evidence, because usually just breaking the door may not be enough. They might need a little more.
That's not destruction of property?
Yes, that is destruction of property, but does that happen inside the home, or is that the outside of the home? That would be the only real question, is trying to prove that's inside the home, the threshold of the home is part inside the home.
It just seems like that. I mean, that there's not trying to be argumentative whatsoever. And I do respect all of you all for being here and trying to help. But it just seems like to many of us that there's more rights for the people out here on the street than it is for the homeowners and property owners and for the citizens of the city of Dunbar.
First of all, I want to thank everyone for being out here. Really appreciate you guys taking the time for this town hall. My question is, what about repeat offenders? We have a lot of, I don't even want to say homeless, I'm going to say vagrants. They come on our property, they steal or they break into a home, or we just catch them inside of a fenced property. They leave, the cops say if they're being trespassed, you'll get a summons. We never get a summons. They come back, break into the same house, you'll get a summons. We never get a summons to go to court. What do we do with the repeat offenders? We have a 3 strikes and you're supposed to go to jail, but it's only for the same person. At what point can we not make a law or a city ordinance that The police, when they get certain people that come on the same property, first, second, third offense, after that third offense, it goes straight to county, to magistrates, to where the magistrates have a stiffer penalty, and they have to be tried at county court.
I will just tell you that our city code is the same as the state code, which means that magistrates looking at the same law that we have. So for trespassing on your property, first, second, third is still a fine unless they're personally told, get off my land, and they refuse to, then that's when it's jailable. But that magistrate has to deal with the same law that the city's dealing with.
No, I understand that. I'm not saying Judge Hayes doesn't do his job. My question is, if I have someone that's on my property and I say, you have to get off, I call the police, I have their name, I give them their name. I'm told that I have to give them something in writing that says they're trespassed. Well, I don't have anything in writing. I tell them to get off my property, which is what you said, a verbal warning. They come back to my property again, I give them another verbal warning, I call the police. At what point do we not continue to call the police for the same thing over and over again, and something actually gets done, either in the court's 30 days, or, because it seems like the same people, and police reports aren't being filed, we're not getting these police reports that we're asking for, and it's just becoming an issue with all the homeowners, to where I have a fenced yard, I don't have to have a no trespassing sign, but I'm told I have to have it on every corner of my property at every viewpoint, and that's not the state law.
Well, folks, I assure you, people are going to jail in Townhall County. I promise you. There's the jail, when they built it, it held 380 people. They said we would never, ever fill up South Central Regional Jail. This morning when I called up there were 601 people in South Central Regional Jail. There's 200 some people up in South Central Regional Jail sleeping on mats, the floor. And part of it is the cities don't have the money to put people in jail. I know y'all don't want to hear that. It's $52 a day to keep people in jail. For the minor crimes, it's hard. The city just doesn't have the money. So yeah, when they start sending to the county and it's more serious crimes, the county has a little bit more money. We put them in jail a little bit longer. But I understand everybody's concerned. I mean, but that's kind of where we're at.
We understand that, but why, as a citizen, do we have to continue to be told we can't afford to put them in jail when they're coming to our
Anyone else
property
that wants
and
to
crime?
speak, you have had your minute.
I'm very sympathetic. I definitely understand. We got to. I think the legislatures deal with the overcrowding problem as much as they can, and that is definitely part of the problem.
I just wanted to speak on your $52 a day. Could that not be added to the length and make the criminals pay their own jail as part of their fines instead of the citizens?
Let me address that real quick on the city level. That is assessed to the person as court cost.
Okay.
So we do charge them whatever time they're in jail. It is put on their court costs and fine. So we
I
do.
mean, just as a normal citizen, I would have had no way, because we hear all the time at, city council meetings that we can't afford, and I understand that it's a small city, but, if at some point, if they don't pay their fines, bench warrants and go to big boy jail. I don't know, I'm just using, but that is part, okay, thank you.
The issue that we're facing is that these people don't have income. They don't have any resources. And the judge will sit here and tell you, by asking, there's some of them that have a stack of folders, probably 1.5 feet tall, with probably $30,000 worth of fines assessed against them, that they will never ever pay. So, yes, we do assess the jail fee, we assess the court cost, but recovering it from somebody who's not working and has no intentions of working or has no asset, just becomes a dead expense to the city. So.
I'm sorry, just following that, if I don't pay my bills, if I don't pay my sanitary bill, a lien goes against my property. So if they don't pay their fines, can they not just go I understand that the jail is overcrowded, but there's gotta be some.
They don't have an asset. They're living on the street.
Their freedom should be their asset.
We can put them in for $52 a day. You're not going to recoup the cost from them. I mean, this last couple meeting, we spent $3,500 on incarceration fees just this last month, and that's probably a normal. So, you're looking at substantial money going into incarceration on a regular basis. So the judge is putting them in jail, and we are paying the court costs, and we will recoup them whenever we have the opportunity. If they don't pay fines, we can file after 18 months. We can file with IRS and attach any income tax return that they would get. So we follow up on every avenue that we can get to recoup these costs.
Thank you. My name's Heidi. I'm so sorry, sweetheart. I grew up in Dunbar, and I'm getting ready to move back home here. And I've been involved in Charleston politics for about 20 years. And in response to your question, hi, I thought that was you. I have some actual curiosity about what kind of social programs, if any, Dunbar has for these people who don't have jobs and income and means, like you were mentioning. Are there places for these people to go during the day and the evening in the city? I know there's shelters in Charleston. Is there any place in town for people to go? Are there places, churches or anything like that are feeding people? Is there basically what kind of bolstering is there for people who need food, who need housing, anything like that? It's a general open question. I came here tonight because I didn't know this was a problem in my hometown. And I wanted to know what's happening to fix it, to help the people who need the help. Anybody, especially city council members in Dunbar, I'd love to hear from them.
I'll jump in on that for a moment. You questioned about facilities for them during the day and food sources. A couple things. One, as far as the churches, some churches such as my own, we sponsor, for example, Narcotics Anonymous, but those are for those who are actually working to become or are clean. It is not wise at all, and it's not even safe for a church to open up to those that are still in the full addiction mode. And whether you like it or not, that's a reality. And so some churches are working to have NA and other programs, but as far as to answer your question beyond that, there's not an organized situation where we have a day shelter for them or a night shelter or anything like that. Also, I'll just wade right in. It can get controversial, but I cannot hear you. You're trying to speak to me?
It's controversial to feed people?
No, let me share for a moment.
Please do, please do.
Working with addictions and people in the community, there's things that can actually help deliver them out of it, and there's things that can actually keep them in it. Recovery programs.
How many friends have you lost to addiction, sir?
Well, I don't want to get personal, but I could share some, but that's not the point here. We're not sharing personal
Just wondered
stories.
if you'd ever met an addict before, because I have, and they eat.
Yes, ma'am, I have. I work with families and addicts all the time. But we do not have an active recovery center here. There are around, and we fully would like.
The microphone.
In fact, we would like to see more recovery, but we're limited as a city what we can do to sponsor recovery programs.
I think that since I work, everyone else should have to too. I think that I pay my taxes, I do my voting, I bought my home. It should not be used for anyone else. I don't want anyone else in my home because I paid for it. And they should not have any rights to be on my property or in my home.
Okay, so then from what I've understood, what you have said, the city has a high amount that they owe the jail. Why can't, since our represented officials are here, why can you not work on something, not only with Dunbar, but other cities, that if all these people are repeat offenders, and it's not because they're truly homeless, it's because they have a problem. Why cannot a law be passed that after a certain amount of money, they either have to go, and I hate to say this, to prison and work it off, or something has to be done because we should not, I work, everybody else here works. We should not have to pay for something, and I'm sorry, that was their choice to do against us and what we worked hard for. It's just not fair, and I think that's why most of us are here, because we want to come to a solution that's going to be equitable for everyone.
That pretty much covers what I was going to say, so I'll change up my statement a little bit. If I understand right, the $52 would go towards our court costs and fines. Was that correct?
The $52 is the cost of people at the facility, at the jail. Food, that's what it costs to run the jail. That doesn't have anything to do with cost.
South Central sends the city a bill for every day we incarcerate someone at $52. If that's just the money that we pay to South Central, we don't know what they do with it. They incarcerate them, they keep them over there. So yes, we do have to pay $52 cost on everyone that's incarcerated.
And now that's going to be us doing it. Did I understand that?
I'm sorry.
It's going to be the public, it's going to be the city of Dunbar, the citizens of Dunbar paying the $52.
No, that's what you pay now.
Oh, it is.
They threw everyone to Vegas.
Well, if we make it 55, they can buy some concert. If we're here to Molly song.
That takes away from your roads, I mean, it's a real problem.
My question is this: why are they here? What is Dunbar providing for them that's drawing them here? Are we providing food, shelter, clothing?
That is a very good question. And if you look around, we have this problem with vagrancy and the whole issue we're talking about tonight, whatever term we come up with. You have it in a sense, over the whole Canal Valley, but it's in pockets, as you've noticed. It is primarily, for example, I use South Charleston as it's an easy example, not picking on them. But if you're in Spring Hill, they have just as big a problem with this as we do. But if you go out to South Ridge, they do not. Same city, same codes, same police force. So you start asking yourself the question, what is different about them? There's nothing different between the police force, it's the same. Nothing different between South Ridge's codes and Spring Hill's codes, it's the same city. So what is the difference? And then you have to start looking to see what does it take to live that lifestyle? And you have to just simply think about what are the things that it takes to live that lifestyle, and then what supports that lifestyle. And it's just human nature. Whatever lifestyle we choose, we gravitate to where the resources are for that lifestyle. And for good or bad, that's the way we choose in life. And so you have to look and see what is different between one community to the other, not so much on police or the legal side, but what is there to supply those resources for a particular lifestyle. And that's not a judgment, because, for example, all of us choose a lifestyle of some kind, and we gravitate towards, if you like the country lifestyle, you gravitate to the country. If you like the city, you gravitate to the city. So you have to understand what is the lifestyle needs for that, and then what is what we can do to drive those needs, and that will answer your question, why you see a large portion of people in one area and not in another area in the same city limits. It's what's meeting their needs in one area that's not meeting their needs in another area. That's a long answer, but that's at the same time a simple answer if you can dig down and find out what those needs are.
I live on 19th Street, and I've lived in Dunbar probably 20 years, and I've never seen so many people late at night, especially on my block, walking, and I don't know where they come from. I mean, they're 1, 2 o'clock, and I've never had a problem with anyone in my block or my home. But Mayor, one thing you mentioned there a while ago, that these people have no source of income. Well, I kind of have to disagree, because they all smoke, they all have their tattoos, they all have their cell phones, they have their backpacks. Now, where does all that come from? Where does that money come from? If you can afford, especially with the price of cigarettes today, $5 a pack, if you smoke a pack a day for 30 days, that's $150. You could afford to live somewhere, you know? So I just don't understand, you know, what they do or where they're going, or, you know, I don't know where they come from. As far as an intent on breaking into my house, I've never had a problem. But I'm not going to stop and ask what their intent is. I mean, I will. I mean, I'd shoot them. I have no problem with that. I mean, I arm myself.
Okay, so I've been in Dunbar 36 years of my life. I had never, ever seen anything like this. I think what everybody's trying to get to is not the fact that they're just laying on the streets or laying on the benches over here or at Ole's or such a square. They're breaking into our buildings. They're stealing our stuff that we work for. You know, it doesn't just come down to them laying around or breaking into our yards or whatever. And that's, you know, we go out and work every day, hard work for everything that we have. For these people to come in and steal everything that we have. And that's not fair to us. For you guys to come and say, well, it's $52 a day. Well, that chainsaw sitting in my building that they broke into, that was $120. It probably took me 2 days to make. You know, and it's not fair. There has to be a change. And it's not only here in Dunbar, it's in the whole West Virginia. Every community is affected by the addicts and the vagrancy and stuff like that. But it's like we feel like nothing, like we're getting nowhere with it. We want answers as to what's going to happen forward. We know that elections coming up and we need to get bills passed and all that. But where do we go from here to get this problem fixed? And I know you can't fix this overnight, and I know you can't kick everyone out. But it's like I have to go through Dunbar on a random Tuesday at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, come across the Dunbar toll bridge, and there's one asleep on the bench. It's been there for 4 hours and still sleeping. Those are the things that we're talking about.
Hi. I wrote my question down, so I make sure I get it right. My name is Judy Reed. I've lived in Dunbar for 48 years. The citizens of Dunbar have been told by our city leaders and local law enforcement that state and federal laws supersede the local laws and ordinances, and therefore they have to abide by those laws first. Things that we feel are crimes, such as trespassing, theft, loitering, sleeping in public, nudity, even sexual relations, seems to be unpunishable acts. So my question is, what do we as citizens of this town, or you as legislators, need to do to either impose stiffer penalties or forced rehab on the drug addicts that are stealing from the citizens, overriding our town with needles, feces, trash, and make it unsafe for our citizens, our children, and grandchildren to simply go to the grocery store, drugstore, or parks without fear or intimidation? Thank you.
I've been here for 60 years. I grew up in this town when you didn't have to lock the door. My problem is the government spends $4 billion a year on homeless. These people are not homeless by some act. They're there because they want to. It's a drug issue. And if you don't fix that, I don't know what you're going to do. They steal from everybody.
With that, I'll make a statement. I've been thinking about some of the solutions or recommendations that we can take to the legislature that may have some long-term impact on what's going on. If you're watching the newspapers, the opioid lawsuits are getting ready to be settled out. There's going to be billions and millions, millions and billions of dollars coming down the pike. It's going to be dispersed throughout the United States. And I feel like that the legislature needs to take steps right now before that money is carved up into all kinds of weird special administrative programs and dedicate 100% of that money to mandatory treatment for people who are drug users, make it a court-ordered 1-year minimum treatment program that once somebody has been caught or documented 1 or 2 times, not just a casual user, but has been documented to being Narcan or something of that nature, that the law be amended that the courts can remand them to a 2-year treatment program. Now, is that an immediate solution? But I think it starts to break the chain that is what's happened, that where we've turned our head away from the problem for decades. We've looked around it, looked past it. I know there's probably several people in this room that have family members that have been victimized by drug addiction, and it's destroyed families and ripped them apart. So I think this is a way to potentially save some of these people and break the chain for the next generation.
Here, first of all, I think that's a great idea, the mandatory sentencing to rehab. But I wanted to address, he was talking about why it's in our area and in Charleston and in St. Albans and not Southridge. And there's several reasons. I think, first of all, their dealers are here. Their dealers are here. Their dealers are in the major metropolitan areas. They have free access to meals on a regular basis in these areas. There are goods for them to steal on every corner, around every alley, and every yard. There are places for them to take the goods they steal. We know of garages where people go in and out all the time, houses where people go in and out all the time with full bags every time, pawn shops that are supposed to report everything that they get in and aren't supposed to take stolen goods. And come on, we all know it happens. And we are told that some of these places that we see them going into all the time with weed eaters that we know they're not going to use on yards, and lawnmowers and chainsaws that we know they're not going to use to cut down trees, that they have to have probable cause to look in these places, or probable cause to stop these people that are carrying this stuff. Well, if they're carrying axe handles, crowbars, bolt cutters, why is that not probable cause? If they're seen going into these places day in and day out with weed eater after weed eater and things that you know have been in other people's yards, why is that not considered probable cause for these places to be able to be searched for stolen property?
One of the other things that I sent to the delegates and senators prior to the meeting is to amend the state code so that we can enforce it here on the local level. It makes it a felony offense, criminal trespass, to go into any structure that is posted as abandoned, boarded up, or in some nature not supposed to be intended for occupancy. I think we have a pretty good chance of maybe getting them to talk with their legal counsel at the legislative level to start moving on that. And we will keep, I'll stay in contact with them and see that moves to the agenda at this next legislative session. I think it needs to be done. We've got to stop the perpetual rousting them in and out, in and out, in and out. I mean, you move them out and 30 minutes later, they're right back in. So we understand the frustration, and I've talked to them about that potential change in the code that would allow us to make that a criminal offense. But
just to speak on, and what you spoke on too, it's all supply and demand. And especially like what we talked about, see, when people post their Ring videos, or if you just go on ring.com and you see a constant flow of people walking up and down certain alleys going in a certain garage, that's kind of what we're talking about. Not the abandoned structures, which I do recognize that you all are doing a lot of work taking care of these abandoned. We're talking about structures that are not abandoned, that people are walking in and out. And we're not talking about necessarily legal pawn shops. We're talking about illegal pawn shops. There's one on 22nd Street. You could take it, stolen merchandise to, get money for, come back and get it. I mean, these are the issues that, that we're talking about. It's supply and demand. We're right off the interstate. All the drug dealers are situated right around in here. They're not going to follow any laws. They're already breaking the law.
I know I've already had a turn. This will be brief. One of the problems that I'm absolutely positive that is causing certain areas to be worse is abandoned properties. People that are older, elderly are dying off. The houses are not being taken by the children or anything. They're being purchased by slumlords who don't care who goes in there. They have nothing, they don't have a dog in that hunt. They don't care. And we're getting people into the neighborhoods that are producing drugs themselves and selling them. Some houses have more traffic than a McDonald's drive-through. There's no reason for this. The abandoned property thing must be addressed. If they're, get rid of it. If you can't sell them, tear them down.
I just have a question for the legislators. Is there a homeless problem in South Hills?
Turn it off. I have two quick questions. Number one, why the churches and groups that are giving free food, free clothing, free housing, whatever, without an outreach, without trying to help them, just giving them free stuff without any type of program to follow? Is there a way that we can find them or require them to pay the cities that they're in to put them in some type of a setting to be more checked on and thorough? And the second one is, I know it's not illegal to be homeless, not illegal to be a vagrant, I guess. When they're sleeping on the street or on a bench, why can our police officers go and I'm not saying they don't do it all the time, but they do it sometimes, move them along. Tell them to pack up their stuff and move. Tell them to pack up their stuff and move. They don't have to arrest them. They just keep them moving. If they keep moving, some of them say they stay here because they're not being moved, because they're allowed to lay around. Can we just keep them moving throughout the city?
I have one question. I need to know what the plan is. I have kids that they used to be able to ride their bikes, and now they can't carry pepper spray. So what are you guys, I run an office, and I always have a plan. So what are your plans for me? Besides waiting.
can speak to the fact that there is discussions and looking over things, and I'll just briefly share, for these things to work, to improve our city or any other city, there has to be a consistent cooperation between the city, but also the citizens, the churches, and the businesses. All four entities have to be involved, and they all have to be involved equally. The catch comes into it has to be voluntary, because the city, by state code and the U.S. Constitution, which is a good thing, can't force these things. You don't want us as a city forcing a church to do something or not do something. You don't want a city to force a business to do or not to do. So it has to be voluntary and requested, but there is a discussion about a strategy to try to work to request, and it would involve several things. The first would be, of course, number one, to keep up the police interdiction and that side of it, and then along with what the mayor said, to seek recovery, seek mandatory recovery. You have to start with that because that's the number one issue. But then below that, you have to work for several things. For example, work with the restaurants. Like you've mentioned, there's several establishments that do things that perpetuate some of this. I mean, I'm just trying to be kind, but it's the reality. And those are things we cannot force as a city, but we need to strategize and realize it's happening, be aware of it, and ask some way, can you cooperate with us? We can't force you, but can you cooperate? To, for example, when you're closed at night, turn off the free Wi-Fi, or even during the day. I don't want to be blunt, but really that's a legitimate person, even if they're not working, but if they're legitimate and law-abiding citizen, we mostly have data on our phones already. So if you turn off the free Wi-Fi, if you ask for that, if you say, can you please turn off your outlets on your facilities, then that eliminates the charging stations. If you say, please, can you ask them not to charge their phones in there unless you're a paying customer? Because that way it doesn't affect you all. As you know, sometimes we as paying customers need to charge our phone, but we're not hanging out there for 5 hours charging our phone. It's a whole system of those kind of things working through between, and in the city, our part, working harder, as the mayor's mentioned, to get laws and codes strengthened so that we can help you with your property rights, so that we can give you more of a sense of security. And then also in the citizen side is realize anything that you do not lock down is another supply of heroin or meth. Now, I'm not being flippant. Anything that you don't have locked down, any weed eater, lawnmower, bicycle, that translates into a purchase. And so that's where we have to work with you as citizens as well. Again, we cannot, as a government, say you have to lock these things up. But if you do, that helps on the whole process. And we could go on, but I think that's a rough answer. There is discussion, there is some planning of ways we as a city can try to coordinate an effort. We cannot force it, because then we cannot go beyond state code, has already been shared with the prosecutor, but also all of us, I think, do appreciate and respect the Constitution that does limit government powers. But we do need to work on a plan, and it is being worked on in ways we can cooperate together, city, for what we can do, and to do better. Churches, so that we are helping, not enabling. Businesses, so that they're productive and not creating more problems. And each of us, we're all citizens here as well, as individual citizens, doing what we can to curb some of these things. So there is some planning going on. It's not simple, and it's not resolved, but there is an effort being made.
Okay, I just have a question, I guess, overall. First off, I remember a couple of 3 meetings ago that the mayor put his hands up and basically said, our hands are tied, we can't do anything about this. So call your state representative and call in those people that you elected, you voted for, and that's what you're here for. I really would like to hear from you guys tonight as well, as we could get to that.
Well, I'll address that. I invited them here to listen, to see what your concerns are. They're perfectly welcome to speak if they want to. I don't think any of them have a game plan. They see issues all through the areas that they represent, and they will have an opportunity to speak here in a few minutes if they want to. But is there anybody who wants to speak relative?
sorry, I have one thing to say, I'm sorry. My name's Scott Spencer, I'm a business owner in Charleston, but also I've lived on Rough Atlanta Road for about the last 7 years. Currently bought some property down on Charles Avenue, after, the Shawnee Sports Complex. I was like, I was thinking about opening another business, but I said, well, we can involved in some real estate. Purchased 2 homes that needed all gutted and refurbished. I spent a year refurbishing the house. It's great now. I did have a real problem with people coming down the alleys and, got my before everything got broken into twice. Called the police, the people were gone. You can't report on somebody that's not there. But since I've worked on the property, I've lit up every 4 corners of my home. I put nice landscaping out front. I brightened up the house. So even day or night, it's been a world of difference since I put spotlights on every corner of my house. It's made a difference to light up the property. But from just sitting here and listening to everybody, and I know, you got city codes, and fines, but we know they don't have anything. And we're not going to get nothing from them. And I know everybody has a son or a daughter. They're all sons and daughters of somebody. But we have a real West Virginia problem that has become a generational thing to take and take and take and take. Like I know somebody went to the hospital today, they have insurance, they make good money, but no, they went to the ER and said, oh, they make $400 a week. Oh, well, here's some Medicaid. So, it's things like that people have learned the system and are just completely taking advantage of taxpayers and government, et cetera. But I hear people ask, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Well, here's my complaint. What's the difference between trespassing and breaking the law? I mean, honestly, we know it's silly. The whole thing, putting our police officers in actually jeopardy because they do say they warn the people, they make the arrest. Well, it's usually more than likely after 2 or 3 times, that's when the person knocks on somebody's door and blows their brains out. It's like, oh, well, they were in jail yesterday, but we just let them out. So that's how that system goes. So what we need to do, it shouldn't be tolerated, but there also needs to be a solution. Sitting here complaining about it and asking what do y'all want to do, it's more of an individual in the city. One of my big concerns with Dunbar is infrastructure. I mean, here Dunbar actually has such a great opportunity to be like a real city because you're in between cross lanes.
Okay, what Charleston. Is the? Let's keep it to the topic.
Okay, so
your question.
People are asking. My concern is like lighting, streets. If we had more lighting, light the place up. I mean, just where there's lights, you won't see these people. And just for a solution, it's just an idea that I've seen on Netflix, I believe, and I thought it was a great opportunity. One city took a plot of land, they put like 31 of those little barn houses, they put beds in, they cut windows out, they put an AC in, gave them a little furniture, because all these people really, all they want is somewhere to lay their head. And if right now it's a park bench, maybe we could give them a plot of land, open, and put a free source of water, give them a garden. You know what I mean? It don't be in the city limits. Y'all can sit there and say no all you want, but you have an answer. But it's just a solution, give them a place to call home instead of being on our streets.
First and foremost, I'm Andrew Bird. I'm one of your delegates. I want to thank the mayor for putting this on, but I also want each and every one of you all to take out something to write something down with. And here's the reason why, because I don't want you to think that we're ignoring you in your concerns, because I'm going to give every one of you all here tonight my personal cell phone number so you can stay on this. But the problem is exactly what the gentleman right there said in the hat. Raise your hand, sir, in the black shirt. It's a drug problem. That's where it starts. And so before you can get people off drugs and get them into workforce, it's going to always be a problem. So what can we do as delegates? We can come and listen to these concerns. Your mayor is working with us now really hard on trying to, one of the first things we're going to go back to the Capitol tomorrow. We'll walk down there, I'm going to talk to my staff, council, and say, listen, this abandoned property issue is a real concern here in Dunbar. Can we change the code to make it so that we can put these people in jail instead of slap them on the wrist with a $100 fine? It's got to go further than what we can do as legislators, but we got to be cognizant of what he said. Unconstitutional issues. St. Albans is getting ready to be challenged because they passed a vagrancy law, and now my understanding is that the ACLU is going to file a lawsuit against them because it's vagrancy. So we have to be very, very cautious in what we do as legislators, but I want you to be totally dependable that we are working on this. So I'm going to give you all my cell phone number because I don't want you to think that I'm avoiding this. Because it's not only Dunbar, it's St. Albans, it's Nitro, it's South Charleston, it's Canal City. Everyone is calling. It's a national crisis, but West Virginia is being hit the hardest. And it's sad because I'm born and raised here, I'm here to stay. And this drug money, when it comes in, I hope it's not divvied out from some grant request at some local, I don't know, what we're seeing on the news right now. I hope it's to address the real issues that you all are facing as citizens, which are being taken advantage of by industry or I guess a group of people that are addicts. It's sad, but we need to get rid of the problem. So take this number down. It's 304-741-3083. That is my personal cell phone number. You can even try it after we're done tonight. I'm going to stay and talk to you all. But when I am done, I've got a full page worth of stuff. I'm going to go to the Capitol tomorrow, see what we can do that's constitutional, and get it done. And you all can stay followed up with me, and I will. If you want me to continue to call you all, I will. But I just wanted to say that because I don't want you to think we're avoiding it. We are here to listen because we serve you, and that is what I'm here to do. So I appreciate you all being here tonight. It shows that you all care about your city and where it's going in the future. Let me repeat my number for this fine lady in the front. 304-741-3083. Somebody's calling it right now, so somebody's trying.
I didn't get a chance to put it in my phone, Bert. Come on, you want to give it to me? Yeah. First up, thanks to Mayor, thanks to Council. I want to take a moment to thank our service personnel here today. We got our firefighters, we have our police officers. They have a thankless job. Let's give them a round of applause. I'll give you my cell phone too if you want it, but it's I'll give it to you in a minute. Judy, where's Judy at? Judy, I took a lot of notes. Make me a copy of that. The bottom line here is this. Someone said it here earlier. If you don't change the reason people are homeless, nothing we can do is going to fix the problem. You have to change the reasons that people are becoming homeless. Like someone said it back there. Why Dunbar? Why Nitro? Why South Charleston? Spring Hill? But we got an interstate that runs right through us. It's an easy drop-off point. Number two, it's flat. Number three, there's a lot of people in this area. I never thought I could go to Los Agaves over here and have to lock my doors. Never thought I'd have to roll up my windows in downtown Dunbar. But it's real. I had somebody call me in Canal City, South Hills, actually. They owned a parking lot. Homeless person was sleeping under a tree in the parking lot. They said, Delegate Scaff, what can I do? I joked with them, said, cut the tree down. They cut the tree down. But that's in all seriousness. What am I going to do as your legislature? What can we do? The opioid money, the distribution has to come back and has to come back to people of these communities, number one, first and foremost. Number two, I think we as legislators can all work together and help this abandoned home, bad structure problem, but that takes money. We got to find the money from the legislature, from the federal, whoever we can, and distribute it accordingly to the cities in our community to help just take them out. Take out these houses altogether. Number two, hard-earned money that you did to buy that chainsaw. I own property in Dunbar too. Last thing I want is someone breaking in my house, stealing my chainsaw. You're damn right. Second chance, third chance, we need to have stricter penalties on people who committed a crime for the third time. And I think there's not one person here who will disagree. Constitutional or not, we'll fight it till the end, but third time's a strikeout for me. Third time. Second time, you slap them on the hand. The third time, if you don't get it right, something more severe needs to be done. And I'll take that to the bank. Lastly, we don't have a magic ticket or something I can give you tonight to say it's going to be fixed overnight. As you all know, this is a national problem. But what we can do is make sure this isn't a West Virginia problem and it's not here to stay. So we as legislators, I know I'm not speaking for them, and they'll all get a chance to speak, but we're committed to go back to this legislative session starting next Monday. We're back in there, and we're talking at interims about what we can do to tackle some of these issues that are real life today. And my cell phone for Judy, come on Judy, 304-549-2171. My name is Doug Scaff, Skaff, or call me and I'll meet you at Los Agaves, or grab a slice of pizza there. That's Joe at Gomar, the pizza place. 304-549-2171. Thank you.
All right. I'm Glenn Jeffries. I am the senator for the 8th District. I live in Putnam County, but I do represent Putnam and Kanawha County, along with my Senator Richard Lindsay. It's a shame that our society has got where it's at. I think we can all agree with that. I heard someone mention about that they could leave the doors unlocked a long time ago, and I can remember those days when I lived at home that you didn't lock your doors, you left the windows down. You didn't have to worry about things like that. But I do want to echo what the delegates have said so far, is that we know there is a problem, and we are looking at it. We'll be working on it. Our main purpose tonight was to hear from each one of you, to know and see what you are going through. I understand the breaking and entering, that we do need to look at the trespassing laws. That, one time trespassing was a jailable offense. So we need to be looking at that, about reversing that. Which, with things like that does come a way you have to look for revenue to be able to pay for things like this. But I do want to talk about, one thing I do want to talk about that last year I was approached, and I do want to thank the first responders for all them. I'm speaking with them, and some of the things that they go through, there's no way I could put up with stuff like that. But last year we introduced a bill in the Senate that addressed pawnbrokers. I've talked to a number of faith-based addiction recovery centers, and the number one thing that they approached me about was do something about the pawnbrokers. That is the number one source where these people are getting their money to be able to purchase their next high. We introduced a bill last year that passed out of the Senate. For some reason it stalled over into the House, and I don't know why, but it will be reintroduced the very first day of this coming session that will address pawnbrokers, of requirements that they will have to go through to be able to purchase stolen items, or they are stolen items. Most of them are stolen items. But to purchase those items, there will be requirements that they have to go through to be able to purchase those items from any individual. I wrote down a list of them that was in here, but I could go through each one of them and tell you what they are. But I want you to be rest assured that that bill will be introduced the very first day when we open up the session in January to address the pawnbrokers, to make it stiffer for them to be able to purchase stolen property and stolen goods. So, and my cell phone number is, some of you have already contacted me, so some of you haven't. It is 304-881-4980. Thank you.
My name is Richard Lindsay. I'm the junior senator from the 8th. I represent Kanawha County, part of the 8th. Again, thank the mayor, thank the city council people, thank the Boy Scouts, the service personnel, and all of you, because I think what I've learned here tonight, which should be obvious to everybody, is each of us plays a role in dealing with this issue that you're suffering from here in Dunbar, in Nitro, on the East End, on the West Side, and Eleanor, and throughout West Virginia. And so you being here today and us listening helps us do our job on the state level, helps the mayor do his job on the city level, and I hope and pray that the participation here today continues as we move this forward. One thing I want to say before I give my number out to everybody here is the senior senator from the 8th is much more humble than I ever was, or ever can be, because it was his bill on the pawn shop. It was his idea after talking to a couple mayors, including Mayor Cunningham and Mayor Casebolt. So we definitely will pursue that again. I want you to remember that. That's Clint Jeffries' bill. Also, my number is 304-539-6562. 6562. All right, you got that, Ms. Reed? I'm telling you, it pays to sit in the front row, doesn't it? All right. Thank you all. Have a good evening.
More Capito from the 35th District. Great to be here. I am very, very sorry. Let me apologize for being late this evening. I do apologize, but thank you to the mayor for the kind invitation, and obviously echo all the thank yous to the service folks that are here. Thank you all for taking time out of your evening to be here, and I see some familiar faces that I've had great conversations with and great relationships with. So thank you. This really shows and embodies the community of Dunbar, and I want you to know that we think about you all often, and I hope you do know that. So let's get the easiest part out of the way first. My phone number, 304-552-8986. 304-552-8986. So what are we going to do? So I think we touched on some what I'll call low-hanging fruit. We can talk about the vacant buildings. We can look into that stuff. That's 24-hour, 48-hour code lookup. Let's get a bill in front of us. Let's get this stuff rolling. Now, understand that we can't take action on it until January. We had a bill this year. I mean, we all know, and I think Andrew said it, was that this problem is rooted in substance abuse disorder or drug addiction or whatever we want to call it. We seem to come up with a different name for it every month, but it's a drug issue. And so how do we deal with that? And I think that we have to really think about the problem differently. And when you think about West Virginia, a lot of people look at us and say, man, they're struggling with a big drug epidemic right now. But the way that I see that is an opportunity for us to be the leader. How do we solve it? We've got the problem. We've got the citizens that want to solve it. We're all here. So let's put our minds together and let's figure things out. We had a bill this year that talks about voluntary versus involuntary commitment. We look at all the people in our communities, and yes, it is happening everywhere. We look at all of our people in the communities, and I will tell you that I hear from their loved ones, they look like they're homeless and they don't have any family. They all have family. And we talk to them. And they call me. I got a call last week from a mother in Dunbar, and she called me and she said, my daughter's going to kill herself. I was like, well, you need to call, then I thought she was saying her daughter's going to kill herself. She said, no, she's addicted to drugs, and the police can't arrest her. They can't put her in jail, and I can't have her committed. And so we got to think about problems like that. We've got to think about voluntary and involuntary. How are we enabling family and loved ones and people that are in our churches to help their community members? So I think that's something that we can really work on. And the last thing I will say is, and this is something that I've been really giving a lot of thought to recently, I've had discussions with our staff on the Judiciary Committee where we handle a lot of these criminal justice reform issues, but we need to think big picture about how we look at criminal justice. Because really, when, and the magistrate spoke about jail, I mean, jail is for dangerous people, and a lot of these people have become dangerous because of the problem. But a lot of them are not inherently dangerous people. They're sick people. And so how do we look at our criminal justice reform, and how do we say to somebody that's truly sick but not dangerous, we're going to get you help, but you're not going to hang out on the bench. We're going to take you in, and while we have you in custody, we're going to teach you a trade. We're going to get you clean. We're going to teach you how to be a parent again. We're going to give you the opportunity to come in contact with your faith again, because we know that those things work. So we have to really think, I think broadly speaking, it's how do we approach the issue and how do we get these people help? Because the reality is, if we arrest them, no matter how long we keep them, when we dump them back out, we're going right back to it. We're going right back to it. So we got to give them hope, and I appreciate you all being here, and that's what you're showing is that you care. I mean, we're all mad. I'm mad. I mean, it's easy to get mad about. But we all want to solve a problem. I appreciate you being here. You have my cell phone. I'm more capital. I appreciate you having me. Thank you very much.
My name's Eric Nelson, also in the 35th House District. 4 of us here. Thank you, Mayor, and everybody. I'll just go echo everything that's been said. We came here to listen. We all have taken tremendous notes. This does not change overnight. But we are committed. We, as a group, are committed, and we'll work starting next week on through the session and getting this done. You look at all of our commitment, it's across the board, and this is across the whole county. Yes, it is a very bad problem here, but it's our whole county and it's our whole state. And there are different issues in different communities. And we've got to measure all those together. But the bottom line is, all of us are committed and will make a difference. Promise. So, I guess I have to give out my cell phone. And let me tell you, this is the first time I've done this. I mean, I'll give you my office number too. So my office number is 304-343-5156. And the mobile is 304-545-6611. So now we're all in the bird category. Have given out. But no, thank you, Mayor, and thank you all for coming out. And again, this means so much to hear the issues. But there's 3 of us, 3 of them up here that are attorneys. There's 3 of us, including myself, that aren't. Many of the issues that you talk about are legal issues. And I'm void when it comes to many of those. But all of us will go get those answers and see what we can do and will do and must do. But thank you all.
Something that we all spoke about when we first came in here, we have some vagrancy laws that are in place that what I'm going to suggest is to the mayor, we have all agreed that we would meet and with council is to sit down and let's go over these vagrancy laws and make sure that they may already be in place. I know some of the other cities are looking at this, but I'm going to make a suggestion that we all get together and let's sit down and talk about this, get the appropriate people in here, and if there's policy that needs to be changed that you guys need to put in place, let's do that.
I just want to say one thing. I'll give it to somebody else. First of all of our elected officials that are here, I've never seen this type of outreach in this little town for the first time. Thank you all so much. We appreciate it. Like Delegate Byrd said, I think he and I are about the same age. I'm 32. I'll be 33 in November. I've never left. I've stayed. I have 2 small girls, 6 years old. We've stayed. I've watched every single one of my friends leave. I'm the only one left from the group that I graduated with because it hurts my heart to leave. It literally hurts. We appreciate what you all are doing, and we do put it on your shoulders, but we can't expect you to do something right now. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. These programs are already in place. I have 2 friends in this room from 2 service providers. If they want to raise their hands and let you all know who they are, they can, but I'm not going to put them on the spot. One's with Prestera, one's with United Way. They have programs. They have the Family Reunification Act. Just like Delegate Capita said, these people are not always homeless. Sometimes they are just displaced and they can't leave. Family Reunification Act with Crestera that Charleston has, it allows them a bus ticket to go to where they have a family member. We're not just shipping them off to somewhere and making it another town's problem. They have to talk to the family member. They have to know that somebody's there to support them. Those kind of programs are already here. They're already in place. Administrative warrants. The city of Charleston serves administrative warrants on dilapidated structures to see if they're squatters, to see what's going on. And listen, what these guys do, our EMTs and our police officers and our public works and everything, I challenge anybody to go out there and do what they do. Because what they're seeing on a daily basis, they're being stuck with needles, they're being spit on, they every single day are going out and doing everything that they possibly can. But it is a spiraling problem. But we can see if we can partner with these services that are already in place. You don't have to start something new in Dunbar. You just have to get on board to what other cities are doing. We're a partnership. We're a community. We're very much almost, we're a metro government. We're all neighbors. I want to stay.
Thank you, Megan. Let's go ahead and wind this thing down. So you all, if you want to go ahead and come up, and they've committed that they'll speak with you if you want to come up and meet with them. I'd like to thank you for coming out. I think it shows great community spirit. We have Fall Festival starting this Friday. Hope to see all of you out there supporting Fall Festival Friday and Saturday. And let's show what this community can do by working together. Thank you.